It's a frigid winter night in the Bering Sea, where the line between survival and catastrophe is as thin as the ice crusting the decks. 3 crab boats slice through the churning waters, their lights piercing the endless darkness like desperate beacons. The captains scan the horizon, barking orders to their crews who battle the relentless spray and bone-chilling cold. Pots are baited, lines are cast, and the hunt for king crab presses on. But beneath the surface, in the abyssal depths, a forgotten relic from a bygone era stirs. A derelict Soviet submarine, silent and forsaken for decades, has broken free from its icy grave. For one of these vessels, a routine haul could become a fatal entanglement. This is the story of the Aurora Dawn. The Bering Sea, off the coast of Alaska. Known as the deadliest fishing grounds in the world, it's a place where storms rage with hurricane-force winds, waves tower like skyscrapers, and temperatures plummet to sub-zero extremes. Here, crab fishermen risk everything for a season's bounty that could make or break their livelihoods. The Aurora Dawn is one such vessel, a sturdy 70-foot crab boat built in 1985, her hull scarred from years of battling the elements. She's crewed by 5 hardy souls. Captain Elias Thorne, a 52-year-old veteran with salt in his veins and scars from a lifetime at sea. His first mate, Marcus Hale, 38, a no-nonsense family man sending money home to his wife and kids. Deckhands Riley Voss, 29, a thrill-seeker fresh from the oil rigs. Lena Karpov, 34, the only woman aboard, a former Navy diver with a sharp eye for trouble. And the greenhorn, young Tommy Ruiz, just 22, eager to prove himself on his first Bering Sea run. Captain Thorne had bought the Aurora Dawn a decade ago, after scraping together savings from years of back-breaking work. He'd lost a brother to these waters in a rogue wave incident back in '98, and every trip out here was a reminder of the sea's unforgiving nature. Tonight, under a sky heavy with stars, obscured by gathering clouds, the crew is on their final push. The hold is half full of wriggling king crab, worth tens of thousands if they make it back to Dutch Harbor. "One more string of pots," Thorne mutters into the radio, his voice gravelly from chain smoking. "When we head home rich." Unseen and unknown, 300 feet below, the K-219, a decommissioned Yankee-class Soviet submarine from the Cold War era, drifts like a ghost. Launched in 1971, she was once a nuclear-powered behemoth, 330 feet long, armed with ballistic missiles. But in 1986, a reactor leak forced her abandonment in the Atlantic. Towed to a secret Soviet scrapyard in the Arctic, she was left to rust. Decades of ice and currents had weakened her moorings, and a recent underwater quake, barely felt on the surface, had set her adrift. Her hull, encrusted with barnacles and tangled in rusted anchor chains, now meanders through the Bering's deep trenches, a silent hazard in one of the busiest fishing lanes. Meanwhile, on the surface, 2 other crab boats, the Ironclad from Nome and the Sea Reaper from Kodiak, ply the same grounds. They exchange positions, their massive crab pots, 800-pound steel cages, dropped in grids along the seabed. The captains keep VHF radio chatter light, weather updates, catch reports, the occasional joke to stave off the isolation. "Looks like a storm's brewing from the north," crackles the ironclad skipper. "Better haul fast." Thorne acknowledges with a grunt, his eyes fixed on the sonar screen flickering in the wheelhouse. It's 2 a.m. on January 15th, the heart of crab season. The air temperature hovers at -10 degrees Fahrenheit, with winds gusting to 40 knots. Visibility is down to a mile in the patchy fog rolling in from the Aleutians. The crab boat's crew is in rhythm. Riley and Lena bait the pots with cod heads, Tommy stacks them on deck, and Marcus monitors the hydraulics. Thorne, at the helm, navigates by GPS and instinct, avoiding the known wrecks marked on charts. But the K-219 isn't on any chart, her position lost to time and secrecy. Below, the submarine's drift accelerates, caught in a subsurface current funneled by the Bering Strait. Her chains, dangling like serpents, snag on rocky outcrops before snapping free, propelling her upward slightly toward the fishing depths. The Aurora Dawn drops her final string, 20 pots linked by heavy nylon lines, sinking to 200 feet. As the buoys bob on the surface, the crew takes a brief respite, coffee and thermoses, stories swapped in the galley. On the Navy research vessel, the USS Pathfinder, a 250-foot oceanographic ship on a covert mission to map Cold War relics, sensors ping an anomaly. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Klein, 45, with 20 years in naval intelligence, stares at the readout. Unidentified mass, moving erratically at 250 feet, the sonar tech reports. Klein, who cut her teeth on sub-hunts during the Gulf War, frowns. Their mission is classified, scanning for Soviet-era debris that could pose environmental risks from leaking reactors. But regulations prohibit direct interference with commercial vessels unless imminent danger is confirmed. "Monitor it," she orders. "If it gets too close to the fishing fleet, we might have to break radio silence." Back on the Aurora Dawn, the haul begins at dawn's first light, around 6 a.m., though the sun barely crests in winter. The winch groans as the lines tighten, pulling pots laden with crab. The first few come up clean, the crew whooping as massive king crabs spill onto the sorting table. "Jackpot!" yells Tommy, his face flushed despite the cold. But on the 10th pot, something's wrong. The line goes taut, the winch strains, smoke curling from the motor. "What the hell?" Marcus shouts, slamming the emergency stop. The boat lists starboard as an unseen force tugs backward. Thorne rushes to the deck, peering over the rail. Feels like we're snagged on a rock ledge, but the sonar shows clear bottom, until a massive shadow blips on the screen. "That's no rock," Lena says, her diver's intuition kicking in. "It's moving." The crew scrambles. Riley grabs an axe to cut the line. Tommy mans the pumps in case of hull breach, but the pull intensifies. The K-219's chains have wrapped around the pot lines, her momentum, fueled by the current, dragging the Aurora Dawn towards a submerged ridge known as the Devil's Spine, a jagged underwater cliff that has claimed ships before. Panic sets in as the deck tilts 30 degrees. Pots tumble, one crushing Tommy's leg with a sickening crack. He screams, blood mixing with seawater. Lena ties a tourniquet, her hand steady from Navy training. "We gotta cut loose," she yells. Thorne radios a mayday. "This is Aurora Dawn, position 58 degrees north, 170 degrees west, snagged on unknown object, taking on water, request immediate assistance." The Ironclad and Sea Reaper respond, but they're miles away, battling their own hauls. On the Pathfinder, alarms blare. "The anomaly's entangled with a surface vessel," the tech reports. Klein weighs her options. Revealing their position could compromise the mission, but lives are at stake. "Surface and approach," she commands. The Pathfinder powers up, her props churning towards the coordinates. The Aurora Dawn's engines roar in reverse, but the submarine's mass, over 8,000 tons, even in decay, is too much. The hull groans, rivets popping, as the boat is yanked stern first. Water floods the engine room. Marcus fights to seal hatches. "Abandon ship," Thorne bellows, but the life raft deploys half-inflated, tangled in lines. Riley dives overboard, swimming for a buoy, but the cold shocks his system. Hypothermia sets in within minutes. Below, the K-219's rusted bulk shifts, her chains grinding against the Aurora Dawn's keel. A section of the sub's conning tower breaches the surface briefly, a ghostly fin in the waves, before submerging again. The drag pulls the boat over the ridge's edge, where depths plummet to 1,000 feet. The Aurora Dawn capsizes, her lights flickering out as she sinks bow first. Thorne clings to the rail, shouting for his crew. Lena hauls Tommy to the surface, but Marcus is trapped below, his last radio call a garbled plea. The Pathfinder arrives 20 minutes later, spotlight sweeping the debris field, floating crab pots, oil slicks, life vests. They launch Zodiacs, rescuing Lena and a hypothermic Riley. Tommy's body is recovered, but Thorne and Marcus are gone, claimed by the depths. The infrared data from the Pathfinder corroborates their testimony. The Ironclad and Sea Reaper join the search, but the storm hits full force, 50-foot waves, blinding snow, forcing a retreat. In the aftermath, divers from the Coast Guard confirmed the wreck, the Aurora Dawn